It is the Riot Podcast. This is the intro. We record this after we record all the rest of the podcast.
Yeah.
So that we can talk to you about what you, prepare you for what you're about to hear.
What a good explanation.
Here's the issue, though. We don't have much time, so you're not getting a super long intro because we're in the middle of still fundraising.
Yes, we're still going. We're still going.
We are almost done with our fall fundraiser. In fact, today's the last podcast that's a bit shorter, but Monday we're back and hopefully
Mondays
fully
is going to be
funded.
so long.
I know because we won't. It's hard when you go back to talking for longer times about like riot stuff.
Yeah.
It's almost like we'll have to try to control ourselves, or you'll hear nothing.
Yeah, we might be so tired of talking that we just stop.
So if you haven't supported, we heard from so many podcast listeners this morning. Go to RadioU.com to help donate for the fall fundraiser to help the Riot Podcast.
Today in the podcast, we talked about how 1 in 3 men would give up a certain thing to have belly fat be gone.
And Isaiah would give up a different certain thing instead of, which is really the headline of the story. But I think we don't want to spoil it. You have to hear it when
Isaiah,
he actually says it and the
hurt
shock.
with your words. All
I
right.
know. It was
Very hurtful.
Actually, it was a very
okay.
Isaiah-centric show today.
It was. Before that, we talked about how, we just have so many fans that just love me.
Well, it's really increased our donations for this fall fundraiser, so we appreciate you stepping in with that. And we just wanted to highlight your contribution
yes.
to this fall fundraiser.
Yeah, we talked about that, and then we also got some Worst of the Riots, too, some older ones. One of them was talking about pandemic puppies and how they are just terribly behaved. Jim is not, my dog Jim, is not a pandemic puppy, but he might as well be.
I think he still counts.
He's close.
He's close enough.
He's close.
And we we should also be including a little bit of talk about a possible reboot for Gilligan's Island.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. With a very unexpected people at the helm of that. If it ever comes to be.
If they were
They're
trying
still
to push
working on
that
it.
and I was a part of the Gilligan estate, I'd be like, I don't think so, which is why nothing's been made yet.
Yep. I don't know. You'd think the Gilligan estate at this point would just be happy to get some more money in the bank. But,
I don't know.
I don't know if they're hurting, but it's not like they're making a lot of money off of the property at this time.
Well, it also depends because I know like we normally talk about like the Tolkien estate.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a lot of bank right there. That's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes the estates are not actually run by the families anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So the families get mad because the estate is run by like a company and they sold it off a long time ago. And then, it doesn't work well.
Yeah, well, that's
It
with the
doesn't
Bob
go like
Ross
you would.
estate, right? With Bob Ross's
Exactly.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's totally because Bob Ross's family, they don't have any part of the estate anymore.
Right.
But the estate will sell Bob Ross for anything.
Yeah.
So
They really will.
find
Just
out
go
about-
walk around a grocery store T-shirt section.
And you'll see.
And you'll see Bob Ross.
You'll see what his
Maybe
his
not
business
Gilligan's
estate is
Island,
doing.
but
No,
definitely
not as much
that.
anymore.
Well, support if you haven't. Again, at RadioU.com. We hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and then we'll be back on Monday.
Catch you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.
If you're looking for hot takes on the day's most important news stories, you're in the wrong place. You're listening to The Riot on Radio U.
We're counting down to the end of the fundraiser. We have 4 hours.
Hey, you got a good woo, Isaiah.
Yeah.
That's
You
like that
good.
one?
You're born for fundraising.
I
We
know,
should have
right?
been using that more during the week.
I know. You guys didn't utilize my woo.
We did not. Well,
Enough.
You get ready
Michael
because it's the final hours.
Michael was taking up your seat. So
I know,
we
yeah,
couldn't
I
have
know.
you
He
in.
wasn't wooing either. He was not wooing.
No,
No.
it was from Michael.
I think we see him fading out and you coming in more.
Perfect.
Well, I wanted to read you Isaiah Nathan. He's a podcast listener and got in a chance to donate on the final day for the Radio U Fall fundraiser. Let's see, been listening to Radio U, love the riot, and love the addition of Isaiah.
One of the many. One of the many.
I was going to say that's
What
the
can I
first
say?
one.
Whoa. I'm not sure about that.
I'm sure it came in at other times. Hudson.
Yeah,
We
we
just
just
haven't
didn't see him.
seen
We
all
didn't
these.
I've been
see
hiding.
it.
People aren't saying things about Hudson, so I don't want everything to be
Of
about
course,
me.
of
So,
course.
you know how that goes.
Well, I was also checking too. Is there Nathan in your family?
It's actually my brother. No.
Well, that was super nice of Nathan. We just wanted to share, Isaiah, that a lot of people have enjoyed the addition of you, especially
Yeah.
for the
Yeah, for
riot
sure.
and to Radio U. And thank you guys for supporting and keeping Radio U and Isaiah and so many others and so much music, continuing for the next 6 months.
Isaiah, now that you have, the floor is yours. What do you want to share?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Nathan. I mean, it's been a long way to get here, obviously. And so, like, my fans, all of you guys that are listening, I just shout out to all of you supporting Radio U, keeping it going,
You should have wooed right there.
I know. Woo! Nathan, woo!
That's why you're good. You go to so many sporting events.
Exactly. It's been warmed up for a while.
It's funny, though, because until the woo, he sounded like he was giving, like, an Oscars acceptance speech.
Well,
I have to thank all the people, all the listeners, all the donators that got
fans,
me here. Yeah, I couldn't do it without you. I also want to thank God and my manager.
Your manager.
My parents, the
my
family.
Agent,
Nikki and Hudson for working so great alongside me,
Well, that's it was just the one.
Whoa. It was not just the one. There's been so many, but you just can't say it every time that someone says, I love Isaiah.
If there was more than one, we wouldn't have waited until today to invite you in for this.
To promote
We just haven't said anything yet. There's been so much going on.
You know what? I'll go back through all the many thousands of donations, and I'll pull out the ones that say, thank you,
Isaiah. There's been so many.
Can Michael can probably do like a spotlight search of all the comments.
Yes,
just put Isaiah in there.
Yeah.
You can do that on all the Google Docs, so that's perfectly fine.
Isaiah just scrolls through that every night.
Let's just say this. There's more chances to still give for the Radio U Fall fundraiser on our final morning, and your chance to include whatever you want in the comments.
You can say anything. Like, you can say Isaiah. You can say, like, I love Isaiah, the edition, whatever you want. I love Radio U with Isaiah, whatever you want.
The possibilities.
I love the message with Isaiah.
The possibilities are endless. I mean, we could get my number up a little bit. Hudson's been mentioned. Nikki's been mentioned. I was mentioned once.
Catch up the quota.
Well, I'm excited for the rest of this morning for the Radio U Fall fundraiser. As we are wrapping up, we want to thank you and whoever you want to thank for your donation to keep Radio U going and keep us on the air.
RadioU.com or 8772-RADIO-U.
Hudson, Nikki, The Riot on Radio U.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip. Started from this tropic port aboard a tiny ship. Remember that song?
Is that Gilligan's Island?
It is Gilligan's Island. Very well done. You seem like you might have hated Gilligan's Island.
I only remember, I think I was somewhere where we had to wait for a few hours and it was on the TV. But outside of that, I don't recall.
That sounds like a bad memory.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but I don't know if that was Gilligan's Island's fault, but I remember it being like, oh, that's that show.
Yeah. Well, can you imagine? You're familiar with it enough. Gilligan's Island is a very old TV show. What is that, the 60s? Mm-hmm. And it's a very similar to like the Brady Bunch, just all the shows from that time. Very cheery and happy. Gilligan and the professor and Mary Ann and whoever else. They're stranded on the island and they try to make stuff out of coconuts all the time or whatever, but they can never make a ship to get off of it. Anyways, what if...
Flaw in the... thing, that's all right.
What if they brought back Gilligan's Island, but it was directed by or created by James Gunn, as in the Guardians of the Galaxy and the new Suicide Squad guy, and Charlie Kaufman, who, if you don't recognize the name, he's a writer and he writes for movies and directs movies, and he makes very weird ones like on Netflix. I'm thinking of Ending Things or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's very weird. Esoteric, maybe you could say, movie.
Not bright, lighthearted things. From like you were saying when the original Gilligan's Island was probably around that style.
Quite a different feel.
They want to do a new Gilligan's Island?
They've wanted to since the 90s.
Really? Two?
Yeah. Starting with, it was Charlie Kaufman's idea.
Yeah.
He got Warner Brothers on, this is a story that James Gunn was just telling.
It's a tale.
Yes, exactly. He was, so Charlie Kaufman had Warner Brothers on board to do a version of Gilligan's Island. It would be a movie, not a show.
Yeah.
Where it starts out kind of similar, but then they eventually go crazy and start eating each other.
Oh, on the island?
Which sounds a lot more realistic, doesn't it?
I know, but boy, that's sad.
That would have been pre-Lost. So that would have maybe nipped Lost in the bud if this would have happened. But the problem was Sherwood Schwartz, what a great name, right? He is the creator of Gilligan's Island, and his estate would not sign off on this.
Oh.
So then later on, James Gunn and Charlie Kaufman together bringing the idea back. And again, Warner Brothers is on board. And again, more recently, the Sherwood Schwartz estate says, nope, not going to do a cannibal Gilligan's Island with James Gunn and Charlie Kaufman.
Boy, you say no to anything,
Yeah,
right? Jeez, way to not be creative. Well, wasn't there a movie or a remake of a movie where they go to the island and is it like Dr. Would it be not Dr. Strange?
Dr. Strangelove?
Is that or something?
No, I don't think that.
There's an
I don't know.
island
It could
thing,
be, actually. I've
isn't
never seen
there?
that.
And then it was remade where it's like, here, let's go to the island for the party. It's always a party, and then they're like, let's kill you off one by one.
I don't know.
Ring a bell?
I mean, it's. I'm sure that's a movie. I just have no idea what you're talking about.
I just can't recall what its name is, but I already thought it feels like there's something already there.
So this does or does not appeal to you?
Probably that's a pass.
Yeah, you think?
This is the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Yeah, so coming up this weekend, we've got football, of course. It is the fall, after all. But Isaiah, you're a man, right?
Yes.
Okay, as our resident...
I am a man, yes.
As our resident man and our resident football fan, I'd like to ask you, would you give up watching football for 2 entire months if you could have a flatter belly?
No chance.
No way?
Okay,
No
wait.
chance.
You're not a good person to ask, though, because you're in pretty good shape.
This is not a good study for you guys because none of you guys have belly weight or fat, and you're
You've
not
never
even
seen
30.
me with my shirt off.
Yeah. We have a rule in the handbook that you have to keep your shirt on. But this isn't exactly a study I feel like that works for you guys yet.
I don't know. I think I wear baggy clothes, and you don't. I mean, I don't think I'm large, but I do think I have. It's all in one spot. And it's not
It's
a good
all in
spot.
one spot.
Is it the
I wish
belly?
it was evenly proportioned a little more.
Well, they were saying that a new poll of 2,000 American men, more than 1/3 would give up football games or sporting events for 2 months if it meant you could have a flat stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that a lot of times guys gain weight from September to January, and they say they gain about 10 pounds or more.
For me, also from January to September as well.
That's a full year?
The entire year round, basically. It's my gaining weight time.
2 weeks, like 2 months is a long time though. Like realistically,
It
that's
is.
like 8 games
For
like it's almost more than like for college football. That's more than half the season.
Yeah, for
NFL, that's half the season exactly.
I think for any other sport, because it's not so like with football, it's once or twice a week, maybe 3 times, but. With other sports, it's just like how much are you really tuning in anyways? So, but football will be the tough one. But I want to say to everybody that maybe answered this question with yes, I would give it up. You can give it up.
Is that a diet?
Every time you
answer
could.
yes to this question, just stop watching football and work out instead of watching football during that time.
Well, are they saying because September to January, like because that is such big football time, is that why guys like you gain weight because you eat when you're watching football?
It could be related.
No, it's not related.
Is it because you DoorDash McDonald's, Isaiah, twice on a day?
It's because it's cold outside.
You were watching a game.
It's cold, and nobody wants to leave their house when it's cold, so you just lay on your couch.
It's a small piece of the puzzle. There's the holidays that are in that time as well. And yeah, Isaiah's right. It's cold, so you're inside anyways. You're not as active.
We're inside
probably.
anyways. They say that for you guys, you should pay attention to your portions, eat plenty of fruits and veggies, whole grains, and lean proteins.
It's chicken wings, lean, right?
Dude, everybody had that last night.
And this one's a little bit more intriguing for me. It says it also revealed that a quarter of men would give up their love life for 2 months for a flatter belly. That means like not talking to your significant other for 2 months.
That means you're supposed to, for 2 months, just hide away and work out. Like you're not supposed to watch any games, see anybody else, don't have anything but lean veggies and protein.
I think I could go 2 months without talking to my girlfriend. More likely than 2 months without watching football, for sure.
Because she's not here.
I think it'd be that sounds way more appealing to me than missing football.
Yeah, I was going to say.
She doesn't listen, so no chance she listens. 0%. Today might be the only day.
You said that
before.
You're
right.
You're going to lose all that extra weight and a girlfriend, too.
Double bonus! Winner!
I'm not passing along this break to her,
Yeah,
okay?
we might want to not put this one in the podcast just so that it's not
She doesn't
archived forever. So nobody can come back to this one for you.
There's always that girl thing where you're like, yeah, this girl lost like 200 pounds, and it just shows her boyfriend's gone.
Yeah, exactly. No longer in a relationship.
You know what? We're just going to put this study to the side and just know that if you gain weight from September to January, they say that for guys it tends to be your wait time. Great for you.
The Riot promise is that they'll always have an opinion on everything they talk about. But that doesn't mean any of their opinions will make sense. This is The Riot on Radio U.
If you want to do any working out in South Korea, you might have to change your routine a little bit because they have decided to ban fast music from gyms.
What would be the point, like EDM or?
It just depends on how many beats per minute is what.
They're going that specific?
Yep. So it could be any genre. If it's over 120 beats per minute,
it's not allowed.
That's going to be a problem, and they are not going to allow, at least during group classes. If you're just going solo at Planet Fitness, you're all good. But if you're in a spin class or something,
they won't go that
high
fast.
BPM music. Yep.
So if you were working out and you had your headphones, you were fine. But they're talking like class music or in the music everybody can hear inside the club.
over the speakers inside the gym. Yep.
And what's the point?
Well, of course, they think that if you have higher energy music, that you will be working out faster and harder, I guess.
They don't
which
want
is kind
that?
of the point. But they don't want you to
COVID.
do that because of the virus.
I see.
They don't want you sweating and breathing all over everybody.
I see. So it's not over 120 beats per minute during group exercises to prevent fast breathing and splash sweating. I did not know that was a term.
Yeah.
So they want splash sweating on other people. Oh, interesting.
This is the kind of restriction that is just like, it feels like they're just trying to be creative because they don't want to stop people from doing what they need to do.
They want to keep working out available.
Yeah, they don't want to start banning people from working out, but also it's enough far flung that, away from being a direct correlation that you're like, can you really? Is this really worthwhile?
Oh, did you read down more?
No.
So basically, these are new restrictions.
Yeah.
So like they say that your body produces more respiratory droplets. So that's what they're trying to restrict with heavy cardio. It also includes limiting treadmill speeds to a maximum of 3.7 miles per hour. And there is a ban of the use of gym showers.
That 3.7, that doesn't sound very fast.
Well, you're not supposed to go very fast at all. You're just supposed to be going slow.
Well, you know what, South Korea? We're one step ahead of you. We're doing our part to curb the spread of the virus by not working out at all. Yeah,
we're trying to help. We're just not comfortable with that.
As soon as the virus started, I was like, I'm not going to work out. I cannot risk spreading the virus to people. So
now people are mad, especially about the music part. They say, who on earth checks the BPM of the songs when you work out?
Yeah, honestly, I would not expect most gyms to be worried about that.
They usually just buy whatever music and they're playing that.
Yeah, or play like a radio station, or like it could be a like RadioU style station, or just one of those
music.
The ones that you find on like TV.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like if you have direct TV, you have to have direct TV, or
they're just playing someone's Spotify playlist.
Yeah, the Samsung TV Plus has them now, like all those free TV streaming services.
Well, now someone has
all
to
the
make
music
one
mixes. Yeah.
that has a BPM of less than what they're restricting, so it has to be under 120 beats per minute.
The Riot Podcast.
Radio U.
Dog trainers are putting us on notice. Maybe not as much you and I, Nikki. We are dog owners.
We are.
Or dog.
And we both have dogs.
Dog parents.
That's right. Because who can own a dog?
No.
But we both have dogs that are anxious.
Yes, that's for sure. They have separation anxiety.
They do. They were anxious before the pandemic, so it's not like we can blame that.
And I think for each of our routines, it didn't change all that much. For some people are out all the time and their dogs are used to the people being out, and then they were stuck at home for a long time. The dogs got used to that.
Yeah.
And now it's hard to go back to the old way, but that's not what happened with us. So our dogs are just a problem. They're just difficult to deal with all the time.
But they have medicine, so it's okay. But they're talking more like, say you got a puppy or you got a dog, even if it was older, but you got it right during the pandemic.
Yes.
So it only knew that with you.
This is dog trainers saying that they are seeing some of their worst cases ever following the pandemic, where people got their puppies at some point, because there was a puppy adoption boom.
There was
during the pandemic, because people just wanted something to entertain themselves. but dogs are more than entertainment.
Well, they wanted company.
Yeah,
I think that was it. You wanted someone to talk to and someone to be there.
Yeah, and so dog adoption went way up. And then what we're seeing is a lot of people that maybe didn't take the care to train their dogs as well when they got them. And now the dog trainers themselves are stuck trying to fix these extreme cases of dogs that just were not trained properly. And maybe the owners, the parents didn't care as much.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to fix that and pick up the pieces.
So you can still take, my dogs have all gone through doggy camp.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it was like 2 weeks where they go stay with a trainer.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say they've forgotten most of it. So super excited.
Yeah. Well, I got my dog when she was about 6 months old.
Yeah.
So like she was still had a puppy temperament.
Like quality, sure.
Yeah, but she was old enough that she should have been kind of trained. The people we got her from, we just bought her off of Craigslist.
Yeah.
So we didn't know exactly what we were getting into. So there was a lot of retraining to go through there, and it's not as easy once the dog gets a little older. So I agree. It's hard to not just train your dog, but then maintain the training.
That's the shaming part because then that's on you.
Right.
Like when I come home and I'm like, you went to school for this. I'm telling my dog that, like you. And yes, Rolo, you and Sugar are the two that are worst, I believe, out of the two. My one dog, Cinnamon, when she went, you would have thought she was like the trainer was killing her.
Uh-huh.
Just to ask her to sit, she would just be so overwhelmed.
Right.
With like, what? And so she never did well.
Yeah. Well, we've all gotten, I think it's easy to get lazy with your dogs.
Yeah, but this is basically just saying, hey, if your dog doesn't follow the rules, don't worry. No one's dogs are really doing that right now.
And there might not be anything you can do, especially if you don't want to go through the hassle and the expense
of training,
of paying a actual dog trainer. It's not necessary, especially, again, once your dog is a little older. If you don't do it right when they're very young, it is hard to train them once they get older. You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
And it also just depends on the breed, too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think, I've always had dogs that are like bigger and everybody gets more intimidated with them.
Yeah.
And they say those are actually the easy ones to train.
Right.
It's the little ones.
Yeah.
The little loud ones are the ones that are really hard.
Yeah.
So if you have one of those, just even grabbing some YouTube videos, just working with them.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing to do.
Yeah. So, this is a helpful reminder that if your dog isn't behaving, you're not alone, but also it's your fault.
It's really nice to have another dog owner in the room who also has a dog with some, problems that we all get to work through.
Well, I feel once you start, some people like to be fake about their dogs, they're like, oh no, she would never bark out the window at every single thing that ever moves. And it's like, no, that's what they do. We all know this, okay? All of our dogs.
My windows,
let's be honest,
have little snotty nose prints from dogs all over
mine's
them.
coated in it. I can't clean it fast enough. Especially when a UPS truck shows up.
Oh, yeah,
that's the end of the world.
Welcome to The Riot, where you listen to us and that's it. It's pretty much a one-way street. The Riot. RadioU.
Nikki, are you one of the people, you're sitting at a stoplight?
Yeah.
And you know the stoplight is about to turn green. So you take your foot off of the brake and start slowly rolling forward. Do you do that?
I wait because you never know when you're going to get tripped up by because you can see when it's going to change, if it's going to turn green.
Right.
But then you never know if the other side's going to get an arrow or something.
You don't know.
And then you look like the over anxious, eager beaver.
Yeah.
And you're not going anywhere.
I see people doing this all the time. And every time I just think to myself, I know I'm being very judgy, but I'm just like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Yes, you're able to predict that the light is going to turn green in a few moments. Very good for you. But what are you accomplishing?
What are you saving?
By slowly inching forward? It's not like if you you're shaving a second off of your time and you're going to get into work a second earlier because you skipped you started inching forward at all the stoplights.
Some people are just so done with it and they're just ready to get through.
They just hate to wait.
You know what I actually see more of in the morning? Because again, Hudson and I were at work real early in the morning, which means we're driving into work even earlier.
Yep.
I see people that inch forward and then they just go for it. Even though it hasn't turned yet.
Yes, I've seen that too.
They absolutely will run the red light and no one's around, so they don't feel like they need to even wait at the light.
I've seen that not even at night or during the day. Like, just people will, because what'll happen is they'll start slowly inching forward. There's a particular light at my house that I've seen this near my house. I've seen this happen several times. Because they do what you said. They start inching forward.
And then they don't care.
They think that their light is going to turn green, but it doesn't. One of the other ones does. But by that time, they're so far ahead.
They're
just like,
to it.
Oh, no, I'm going to get hit. I've got to go.
And I mean, I've seen motorcycles go. And I know if you're on a motorcycle, I think you can, because you can obviously all the time trip the sensor and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I've seen motorcycles go through, but like these are just full red on lights.
Yeah.
And you don't want to wait anymore.
It's just funny to see people's behavior. Like, just our impatience for some people's impatience runs so deep. They can't wait an extra half a second at a stoplight.
Yeah,
they feel like they're wasting their time if they don't start moving just a little bit.
So I'm not like that.
Okay, good.
I'm ready to go too. Like, I'm ready to get moving, but I don't start inching forward until it turns green.
You can just press, if you want to catch up with that person, you just press the gas a little harder, and all of a sudden you've accomplished the same thing.
Well, I used to live
without possibly running the red light.
I used to live in one area, and this kind of taught me to not do that, because this one light near my house, and again, we go very early. So when you get cars around you, they're on a mission. And so this one light was a semi-truck route, like a real big delivery one.
Yeah.
And they would always run the lights there the other way.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times they almost just slam right into you, because you have the green light, but they're not stopping.
Yeah.
And so I would always have to wait, sometimes even up to a minute after. Like, you don't go through the light when yours turn green, because they're still coming through the other way.
You don't know. You
just have to stop and slow down.
Extra caution, especially in the wee hours of the morning. But
that's when people really
there's
don't
just
care.
no accounting for people's behavior 24 hours a day.
Worst of the Riot podcast.
It's no secret that a lot of restaurants, particularly fast food restaurants, and just a lot of industries in general, especially if they're like lower on the wage spectrum, having a hard time getting employees to come to work, having a hard time hiring people.
They are, which I said before, and I'll say it again because I read this article about it. If you were willing to go into a place and go work, you could make management so fast.
Yeah.
Way like when this starts turning and changing, eventually this will. You know, it always goes like this. But this will go back to where it could be hard to find a job, or you got to start at the bottom.
It'll get there.
If you worked hard at the bottom now, because they need anybody, you could run the show.
You'll already have a leg up.
You could totally be like making so much money as management if you just, tried right now.
Yeah.
But I throw that out there in case anybody's like, but I don't want to do this. Well, you don't have to. They'll sign you on as manager.
Yeah.
You could start big.
As somebody who's worked in food service, and this isn't really like a slight, I'm sure a lot of the managers I worked with would say this also. You don't have to be that smart to be a manager.
Exactly. They'll take anybody. Yeah. I'm talking like you could be a franchise owner pretty soon if you just started now.
Work your way up. You'll be running the show for sure.
They're having so many problems just finding anybody doing anything.
Well, and so this is what's happening with White Castle, where they've admitted they have sent out, or they've been reaching out to past applicants. They've sent out like 550,000 where they've reached out to different applicants recently.
Oh, to people who tried to apply but didn't get hired before?
Yeah, or maybe never even got contacted in the first place. And they've been contacting people that have applied as far back as 2017.
Whoa.
So you could have applied to White Castle in 2017, 4 years ago.
And they didn't think you were good enough then.
I know, that's the sad part.
They didn't hire you.
You weren't good enough for White Castle the first time, which I'm sad to say. When I got started working, I definitely applied to several places where they didn't
take you?
They didn't even call me back or anything. And I'm not talking like radio. I mean in fast food and stuff, which is that's pretty sad when you're reaching out to Taco Bell and they don't even get back to you. But
so now if you did and you never heard from them, if it was back to even 2017, it's not just White Castle. There's a lot of places that are going back a few years.
Cheesecake Factory specifically, there was a story where they reached out to someone who had applied 2 years ago. They're working at a law firm now, so I don't think they're interested.
If you were the Cheesecake Factory person, so like, are you not wanting to come work at the factory? You don't want to?
We've got free food.
So if you applied to a place years and years and years ago, don't be surprised if you hear from that place because they're trying to find people to work and they're doing anything.
Yeah, I told Nikki, I get phone calls, and I'm sure we all do all the time, from these random numbers. You don't know what they are, but sometimes they're local numbers. It's just like you don't know who it is, and they don't leave a message or anything. And I always assume that's a robocall for some spam or whatever.
It's not a Cheesecake Factory.
What if it's all these White Castles and they're calling me? I don't even remember applying to White Castle years ago.
I know you worked at Panera. They want you back.
They want me. Oh, they would make me manager. That's for sure.
Instant.
Yeah, I just think it is funny. They say for White Castle, about 32,000 people have actually expressed interest of the 550,000 that they reached out to. I wonder how many of those are from 4 years ago.
It's a good question.
If you applied 4 years ago and you're still interested.
Well, maybe
you haven't had a good 4 years.
But maybe you're working at a place where you can get more money then.
Yeah.
So if they're providing an attractive
it's
option,
fast food. You're not making more money.
You don't know. Maybe the White Castle, it's a castle. There's money in castles.
Maybe White Castle, you wound up working at Crystal Burgers instead. And so they like your experience, and now you're going to make you a manager for White Castle.
That's enough of that. For more Riot content, head to riot.radiou.com.